Hi, I'm Lydia with Revelation Real Estate, and today in Solving Life's Next Chapter, we have, say your name. Lydia
Yes.
with us with In Touch Home Health
Senior Services.
And you are also the president for all? No.
I'm one of the VPs.
Okay, so there's an association. But before we get to that, let's have a quick word from our sponsor, Dispatch Health.
Grandpa, when you get all better, can we go fishing?
How about next weekend?
Really? Grandma told Mommy that you were really sick.
I was, but thanks to Mommy and Dispatch Health, I'm good as new.
What's Dispatch Health, Grandpa?
Remember when you broke your leg and Mom and Dad took you to the hospital?
Yeah?
That whole building, with the equipment they need, turns into a car with medical people inside, and they come to your home.
What did Mommy do?
She put this app on my phone. I tapped the app, and Dispatch Health made a house call. I never left the house.
Quality in-home medical care is at your fingertips, and it starts by downloading the free Dispatch Health app. Learn more by visiting dispatchhealth.com, and we'll send the mobile app directly to you, just like the healthcare we provide.
You know, Grandpa, I want to be a Dispatch Health person when I grow up.
Dispatch Health accepts Medicare and most insurance. dispatchhealth.com.
And we're back with Lydia. You're basically an aging specialist.
That is
what
correct.
You are. Okay. So the reason why we wanted you here today is there's a lot going on, and we wanted to talk to you about assisted living home and what is an A.L.H. Because I think a lot of our listeners are adult children, and they're considering moving their loved one either into some sort of a place to have help. And so a lot of people get the confusion of what a home is versus a center. So give us some information on what exactly is an assisted living home.
Absolutely.
So people know.
Do you have all day?
We only have 30 minutes, so.
Okay. So I just want to start off with saying that everyone's ultimate goal should be aging in place at home.
Right.
If possible.
I agree.
Medicare is now assisting with implementing some new equipment in the home to help older adults if they need to. And I think that Medicare is starting to pay for transportation.
Yes.
So there are some additional benefits, that are helping to live at home.
Right.
Now,
I
if
agree
you're
with
not
that.
safe at home,
Right.
then an alternative is an assisted living home.
Okay.
Now, the difference between a home and a center is the cost.
Okay.
And some say amenities.
Okay.
Because an assisted living home is smaller
Right.
and they might not have a large size library.
Right.
Some actually do have salons.
Right.
Even the homes.
Oh, okay.
But that's the biggest difference.
Okay.
And then the biggest difference between an assisted living home and a skilled nursing facility is that those at a SNF need 24-hour supervision from a nurse.
So let's go back to just so that our audience knows. So a lot of times you go into a skilled nursing after you've been hospitalized.
Correct.
So say family member either has a stroke or falls or what have you, heart attack. Then from there they go to hospital. Hospital takes care of either surgeries or just getting them back to stability.
And physical therapy.
And then they go from there to skilled nursing for a shorter amount of time for that rehab type situation. And then from skilled nursing, sometimes they're told that they can't go back home for whatever reason. So that's when the family has to decide, okay, where are we going to send mom or dad? And I've always been told, you tell me if this doesn't make sense, I've always been told that the care homes have more one-on-one attention. They're usually smaller, anywhere from 6 to 10 people per home or somewhere around there. And then the larger communities, of course, can have hundreds of people in them because they're larger. And so is that kind of how you would classify both? There's enough for both types of people to be and pick either one or the other.
Yes, absolutely. So it's fairly accurate. In an assisted living center, you mostly want to use or refer for older adults that are more independent.
Okay.
That can go and do activities with other older adults that don't need to be cued or don't need to be reminded or don't suffer with depression and, don't isolate themselves and other individuals who don't have memory loss. That's a really big challenge. And for those who are not able to assist themselves, how long will it take once they ring their bell for someone to attend to them in a larger center? So sometimes some of the centers have their own little apartments. And that's really nice, and it's great for those who are independent.
I agree.
But for those who need more care, it's hard. And it's hard for the families because, of course, their parents are going to deny a lot of times the level of care that they need. I am never going to get
old, I'm telling you right now.
I think it would be a fair statement to say that 90% of the residents that move in assisted living homes don't want to. Because they want to live at home.
I agree with that.
But once they move in,
they love
it because they're not a burden to anyone. Their laundry is done, their food is done.
And they're not alone anymore. A lot of times just having somebody to have a cup of coffee with is really all that they just want, that, that friendship that they can get, whether it's in a home setting or in a larger facility.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen some that have moved to assisted living homes out of rehab and then progressed to assisted living centers. Some that
they've
maybe
gotten better, you mean?
Yes, absolutely. So that is also a goal for assisted living homes, is maybe they need a lot more one-on-one in the beginning to make sure that they recover completely, or more physical therapy that's more one-on-one, and then they progress to independent living.
Interesting.
Or assisted living centers. And then we've seen the opposite, where someone has gone to an assisted living center because it's visually attractive and because the list of amenities and they decline. It's unfortunate, but some families and some older adults can't afford to live in a center and then pay for an additional caregiver. Because sometimes in an assisted living center, you may need that if they have a higher level of care. So it's really important to talk to someone that's experienced, that knows the centers and what they provide and what an older adult may need and like. Because it's not just what you need. It's what you like as well for an older adult. So they should have the right to choose what they like, what they need. So
I think, too, a lot of times, especially in skilled nursing and in the hospitals, the person who you talk to is usually going to be either an exit nurse or some sort of social worker, and they're not going to give you specifics on these types of communities because, first off, they've got a lot of people that they've got to work with. But it also, I agree with you, having someone that can assess them specifically for do they need maybe something with a little more memory care, because a lot of our communities out here, both whether it's the homes or the larger communities, have they offer some either education or some activities that actually increase their mental awareness, or maybe even stop the progression of going down the rabbit hole of just getting down to a dementia where they're not remembering anything. So I'm all for early prevention on that. So
absolutely. In my experience over the years, the case managers and the social workers in the hospitals are overwhelmed. And
I agree with that.
It's their job to assess and find the best place available for them. And that's where a lot of times they use placement agents. And a lot of placement agents here in Arizona have done extensive training on, proper placement. And there's actually a new certification that was released by the NPRA, the CPRS, which is the Certified Placement Referral Specialist exam. I took it. We don't know the results yet.
Oh, okay. You were one of the first ones then.
Yes, and there's no training for it.
Okay.
So if you know what you're doing to properly place an older adult, you can pass this exam. And if you have no idea, then you're not going to pass it.
And actually, you bring up a good point, because that is for our audience, that is an unregulated. Placement agents are not regulated. So you could have someone that maybe doesn't know as much about medical as maybe even a placement agent like yourself, you're going in for nursing, and maybe you've got that more
and
extensive
that's why
training.
they do their research.
Yeah.
With someone like you or someone like me, that's a resource center where we can recommend someone that we've worked with and a placement agent that we know is doing the right thing and can find the best place for their parents.
Right, I agree.
That's insured.
Right.
And there is one regulation mandated by the state and the health department that every placement agent or individual pretty much that does a placement has to offer a disclosure.
Okay.
And
that's
the facility
good to bring up.
has to maintain those records.
Okay.
And in that disclosure, it has to state whether they have any affiliation in the industry and what their fee is. And even if there's no fee, they still have to file this disclosure. And there's a $1,000 fine for each incident that did not file a disclosure.
So that just came about in the last few months, right? No, 2 years?
Last year, about a year and a half, probably.
And that really is because that came out because a lot of placement agents will say, I'm a free service, which they technically are. I know a few that maybe charge up front for some of their services.
So we can get down to the basics. I mean, we're going to be honest here. Yeah. So the national average for a placement agent to charge an assisted living home, not the family or the resident, is 100%.
Okay.
Some charge half of that. Some charge 75. And some may charge more. But it's up to the home to do their due diligence and either deny or accept that fee.
Gotcha.
And they're not supposed to pay that fee until they have the disclosure in their hand. And that's mandated by the state.
Right. So that disclosure does need to be signed by all parties.
Yes, and the reason that disclosure I think was implemented, it's not just to regulate the placement agents, but to show some regulation on everybody else that's doing placement that doesn't follow the rules. So there's a lot of individuals in the industry, and once you work 5, 10, 15 years in this industry, you have a plethora of resources. So sometimes you just assume that you could recommend a home, but there's a lot more to it. You know, if you have a family that is beginning stages dementia, you cannot have that person move into a home that's all advanced stage dementia because they're going to decline. Or if you have someone with a little bit of behavioral, you can't move them into a home that's has no experience in behavior. And then you have to know their finances. You know, are they going to have a spend down? Will they have to apply for All-Tex? Who's going to help them apply for All-Tex? So a placement agent can follow through and check up on continuously.
Okay, good.
So it's not necessarily to provide regulation, but to kind of give a standard and best practices that if you should decide to help an older adult find a place, make sure you know what you're doing.
I totally agree with that.
And follow through. Follow through and make sure they're okay. Follow through and make sure they have everything they need. And sometimes you advocate. Sometimes the home might need some resources, and you can be there as an advocate and provide resources. Because we all know, whoever's worked in this industry for a long time, we just have those resources. So why not use them?
Exactly. So now tell us, when it comes to caregivers, I know you have a lot of statistics that you want to talk to us about, but real quick, just for our audience, tell us the difference. I know we were talking about it before the show. Tell us the different levels of caregiving, and I thought this was interesting. So tell us, the very basic is a general caregiver, correct? Okay.
And every caregiver in Arizona is required to be CPR and first aid certified.
Okay. And every level of caregiving, right?
So there's only one level of caregiving. In an assisted living home. I don't think that there's different ones. So every caregiver has to be able to provide supervisory, personal, and directed care services. And that means assistance with ADLs, housekeeping, wound care. And there's many things that a doctor can train caregivers to do. Catheter care, using a Hoyer. These things are required to be signed off by a doctor. And everything that happens, medication assistance, has to be signed off by a doctor. Absolutely. But the basic caregiver skills in an assisted living home, and some centers as well, they have caregivers, are taking vital signs, and measuring height and weight, maintaining a residence environment, observing and reporting pain, assisting with diagnostic tests, providing assistance to residents with drains and tubes, recognizing and reporting abnormal changes to a supervisor, applying clean bandages, providing perioperative care, assisting ambulation of residents, including transferring and using assistive devices, bathing, caring for skin and dressing, caring for teeth and dentures, shampooing and caring for hair, caring for nails, toileting, caring for ostomy, feeding and hydration, including proper feeding techniques and the use of assistive devices in feeding, preventing pressure sores, and maintaining and treating skin. So this is a regulation by the state of what the skills of a caregiver should be.
So the next level of care would be your CNA, and that is a certified,
So we have certified nursing assistants. Some homes do pay extra to have a CNA on staff. But it's not as usual. Now, some of the homes are owned by doctors and nurses. But the caregivers are the main staff in a home. You have a manager. That's an assisted living facility manager that has their license on the wall, and they're also CPR and first aid certified.
Gotcha.
And they have to have a lot more continued education than caregivers.
And they manage the caregivers, and they basically are in charge of that particular home.
Yes, and you'll find the designations on the wall of every care home on who's there and who is in charge when the manager is not there.
And I think that's really important because the caregiving homes that I've been to, they usually are right there at the front door. I mean, you can see exactly their credentials and who works there, and some of them will have pictures of their caregivers and a little information on them. So I've seen that
every
too.
Facility has to have certain documents conspicuously posted. One of them is the facility license, which is from the Arizona Department of Health Services, and the manager license, which is given from the nursing board, the NCIA board, and then the designation, the resident rights, the facility rights, the menu of the food, which can be customized, and that's what's one of the nice things about assisted living homes is that if someone has to have a lower intake of sodium or is diabetic or special needs or pureed just for a few days, or it can be custom made. And a lot of these homes actually cook from scratch. What's really nice. So you see a lot of older adults get better because of the nutritional values that are in the homes. And there are a lot of dietitians that have implemented these menus for these homes. And there's dietitians that come in and help an older adult if they're malnourished or if they're having difficulty. And home health provides physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy if anyone's having difficulty swallowing or may need to thicken their fluids. And they even offer psych. So if someone is having difficulty, maybe they have a bipolar or a manic or schizophrenic, now the primary doctor, the mobile doctor, can help with this. But a psych nurse can come in during the weekend or off hours and help to where, they keep them out of a behavioral facility. And prevent the manic episodes or prevent anything from happening.
Which actually is huge because I've had a lot of, unfortunately, in my situation, I have a lot of people that don't have a trust in place. So we have to go through a guardianship of some sort to be able to sell the home so that they can move into places like this. And many times there is a behavioral issue of some kind. And I've even had my own clients where they've moved from place to place to place, and that's not good for them either.
No, we call that transitional trauma. So that's why you want to have an expert or someone that is experienced in the industry help find a place for your mom or dad so that they don't move. Because very often when an older adult moves, there's transitional trauma, there's decline. And it's hard. It's hard. Every time they go to the hospital or they move, there's usually some decline that we've recognized.
And I think, too, that a lot of, especially in the smaller home setting, they become really good friends and they're almost like a little family there. So it is a traumatic thing when they have to go to the hospital or go somewhere else for a short time. And if they decline, sometimes they have to go somewhere else at that point. And that's we try to avoid that at all costs as well.
At all costs, absolutely.
So tell us more about what other statistics do you have there? I know
I love my statistics. I love numbers.
You're going to be a great nurse.
Thank you. So we're going to go with statistics about how many homes there are and how many beds and how many residents live in assisted living. So as far as the bed capacity, now assisted living homes, they're usually zoned as R3, which is 1 to 5. it also includes adult foster care. Which is only up to 4 beds.
Okay.
And in adult foster care, the primary provider who applied for that license cannot have a full-time job. They have to be the main provider living in the home.
Okay.
So that means...
Would that be a family member or... Okay,
yeah,
so that would be...
Well, no. It would be an owner of a foster care. But their family most likely lives in the home.
Okay, I
So
understand.
it's up to 4 residents most likely living with your family.
Okay, gotcha.
And then there's assisted living homes, which are up to 5.
Okay.
And then our 4s are anywhere from 6 to 10 beds.
Okay.
And then we have the centers.
Okay.
And the centers vary from 20 to 100 to 150 to 250, depending all over the state of Arizona.
Right.
But they're the bed capacity total, and this is current from the Department of Health Services website as of last night.
Okay.
There's 51,351 beds available in assisted living.
Okay.
Now, the options again are assisted living homes, adult foster care, and assisted living centers.
Okay.
Completely separate.
Okay.
There's 9,754 in skilled nursing.
Okay.
So I would say that assisted living is the majority.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then we have 1,211 group homes.
Okay.
Now, the terminology here is a little tricky because a long time ago, assisted living used to be called group homes.
Right.
And the state, some of them, zoning still uses the terminology group homes to refer to care homes.
Okay.
But group homes by the Arizona Department of Health Services means DD, developmentally disabled.
Okay.
So when you actually mention group homes, you're talking about a developmentally disabled home.
Okay.
And some of them are just adults and some of them are adults and children.
Okay. So that could be someone who maybe can't function on their own but needs maybe some assistance but can't live at home anymore once they're over 18. Is that correct? Or
so a group home is more behavioral.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
For behavioral care.
Okay.
So then a little bit more statistics.
Okay.
There are 48 adult behavioral health therapeutic homes.
Okay.
With 137 beds available. There are 21 adult day health care facilities with a capacity of 1,221. And what those are is during the day.
Oh,
so they're not operated 24 hours.
Okay.
So it's just if you needed to take your parents to an adult daycare while you're at work for a few hours.
Right.
And actually, if you're on A.L.H United, they have a dual plan. So I think 2 to 3 times a week, they'll come and pick them up and take them to the daycare and take them back to your care home.
Okay.
Because United A.L.H has a dual care plan, and they do cover that, which is awesome. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, that is good to know. And and this would help someone who maybe needs to go and get an appointment for themselves, but they can't leave their loved one at home. These adult daycares are available for that.
Yes. Absolutely. And then if your loved one or your parents live in an assisted living and they're on A.L.H with United and you want them to be a little bit more interactive,
social,
you can send them to a daycare center.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
Okay.
And they pick them up and drop them off.
Okay,
it's
that's
really
good
nice.
to
Usually
know.
9 to 3, the ones that I know of.
Okay.
And then there are 55 adult foster care homes.
Okay.
With a capacity of 213 beds.
Okay.
Now, to be a foster care home, you have to be licensed by Foundation of Senior Living.
Okay.
And then assisted living centers.
Okay.
There are 272 directed, 41 personal, and 4 supervisory.
Okay.
So it's 317 assisted living centers in Arizona.
Okay.
With a bed capacity of 27,000.
Okay. Okay.
And the homes, there's 1,800 homes directed.
Okay.
2 personal and 1 supervisory. So obviously most of them are up to directed level of care.
Right.
And there are 14,303 beds available in assisted living.
And that's all of Arizona then?
That is all of Arizona.
Okay.
And then let's see, there are 148 skilled nursing homes.
Okay.
With a capacity of, again, 9,754.
Right.
And again, the group homes are 1,211.
Okay.
We don't have a bed capacity statistic on that, unfortunately.
Right.
But those are the statistics for assisted living and nursing homes in Arizona.
And
those are amazing numbers.
I know. And it's
we have over 60,000 older adults.
Okay.
Well, the capacity for over 60,000.
And I do know a lot of them are close to capacity because we have so many seniors not just living here permanently, but they come here from out of state part-time and then they end up staying here permanently.
We see a lot of homes expanding and opening.
Okay.
Now, last year, my statistics, I did a report last year on these statistics.
Okay.
Let's see. There wasn't much of a change.
Okay.
Now, if you look, and see that and read the news or the Facebook and see there's a lot of homes that are opening up and all these centers, there's not much of a difference from last year.
Okay.
In 2019, I had 1,747 assisted living homes.
Okay.
And now there's 1,800.
Wow.
So it wasn't
Okay.
that big of a spike.
Right.
So there are a lot opening, but there are some closing down.
Right.
There are some that have been doing this for 15 years,
Right.
and they like to retire.
Yeah.
And they're shutting down some of their doors.
Right.
So there's a lot of options available, and I think that a lot of people are just opening up care homes,
Right.
because it's a big money market.
Right. And that's not always the case.
That is not always the case.
Yeah.
If you see most of these care home owners, they're doing it because they have a passion for it.
Yeah.
They're doing it because they took care of their own loved ones.
Right.
Or they went through a situation where they had their parents on hospice.
Yeah.
Or they had to care for them. A lot of these homes here in Arizona are owned in Maricopa
Right.
mostly by Filipino and Romanian.
Okay.
In Tucson, they're Hispanic mostly.
Okay.
And that's based on my experience of going into the homes, and I think my statistics are pretty accurate.
Yeah,
But a
yeah.
lot of these cultures don't have care homes,
Right,
in their
right.
countries. So their loved ones and their grandparents and their parents
Yep,
lived
they
with
took
them.
care of their
they
own-
took care
yes,
of them.
yes.
Absolutely. And they didn't have an extended care system.
Yeah.
Usually once their parents fell the first time, they didn't come back from the hospital.
Right.
So we're lucky here to have this
Right.
extensive options for older adults.
Absolutely.
So
now tell us about, because we only got about 5 to 6 minutes here.
Absolutely.
Tell us about, there is a bill going through the House right now, and it's House Bill 2260. And I know there's a lot to talk about with that. So kind of give us what the bill is and what is A.L.H doing right now to help go through that bill? And is it good? Is it bad? Give us positive and negative and everything in between.
On a personal level, my heart is broken that
Okay.
something like that could even reach, the House.
Right.
This House Bill 2260 was introduced, and I went to the stakeholders meeting.
Okay.
And regardless of what we said, it still went to committee. So
Okay.
on Thursday at 8 o'clock, we'll be at the House of Representatives opposing this bill.
Okay.
We do not agree with this bill.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we feel a lot of the information in this bill is inaccurate.
Okay.
And
So give us
I
kind of a
think-
quick, what
Sure.
is the bill so people know specifically what it is?
Absolutely. So the main part of the bill, it's saying that at least one person at an assisted living should be CPR and first aid.
Right.
Well, the state currently mandates that every caregiver
Right.
is CPR and first aid
Okay.
certified. So that's kind of awkward to me because that's
Right.
already mandated
Right.
by the health department and the
Anyway,
NCI board.
right,
Already.
right.
Exactly. And then the second one is that, they shall provide recovery assistance to non-injured residents. The way that it's worded is the problem. Everyone interprets their own way, and that's
Right.
a problem with this bill.
Right.
It should be clean and cut,
Right.
And it's not. So
Right.
everyone can interpret it the same way. So if this bill is passed, how will they interpret it?
Right.
Will they be putting all the assisted living homes out of business? Because
Right.
the way that some people are interpreting it is that you're going to have an RN on staff at all times
times.
to determine if a resident that has fallen is injured or not injured.
Right.
And only registered nurses can do a medical assessment.
Okay.
So the cost of trying to hire an RN
Right.
24/7 at an
Right.
assisted living home or center is at minimum $25,000 a month.
Yep.
That's $45 million that we're asking, assisted living homes to invest a year.
Right.
And these are non-medical facilities. These are residents that it's their homes.
Right.
They moved here because they need care, but they still want to be in a home setting.
Right. Right.
So what is this bill asking? For everyone to relocate to a skilled nursing facility?
Yeah.
What about the families that can't afford skilled nursing?
Right,
What are they going to
right.
do? And then what happens when you have to relocate someone that's been in a home for 8 years?
Right.
And they become close to end of life.
Right.
You just send them to a skilled nursing facility.
Right.
And the end part of the bill is saying that no facility can implement policies that prevent employees from providing immediate resuscitation. I've never heard of this. Now, there is some rumor and chatter going on that assisted living homes have policies that state that caregivers cannot touch an older adult during an emergency.
Okay.
That is extremely inaccurate.
Okay.
I've been working in Arizona and working with assisted living homes for over 10 years.
Okay.
And I've never seen a policy ever to say that the caregivers are not to touch an older adult during an emergency.
Right.
The state regulates during an emergency, the caregiver on staff should call the primary care physician and the family representative.
Okay.
And then the primary doctor, if they're available, that's why we use mobile doctors so
Right.
that they are available,
Right.
will direct us on what's going on and if we should call 911.
Okay.
And that right should not be taken away from any older adult.
Right. So this bill could potentially take the rights away from the loved one themselves if this bill does get passed as well. Besides all the other,
I can't imagine putting my mom in a care home.
Yeah.
First off, and then this because of what I do.
Right.
And the second thing is to have an emergency and her fall and have a caregiver say, I don't think she's hurt.
Right.
I don't think there's any bones broken.
Right.
And then that liability is just too high. And I want my mom to have proper emergency services.
Right.
And the care homes do provide emergency care services,
Right.
but they're not licensed to do an assessment.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So 911, I think many of the national associations for 911 and all of that say, if in doubt, call 911.
Right.
So why are they taking that right away from assisted living homes?
Right.
Now, if you're an older adult, whether you live at home or in a care home or a center, that right should not be taken away.
Right.
You have the right to proper services.
Right. Right.
So this bill is not written well.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people that are interpreting it differently.
Yes.
And some of the things said are not accurate.
Right.
At all.
And that really is going to affect all of our, not just the homes, but the seniors that are there having care with those homes as well.
The 51,000 bed capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. It would definitely affect them. Most likely, these homes will shut down.
Yeah.
Because they cannot afford a nurse on staff 24/7, and they're already CPR and first aid certified.
Right.
And they call their primary doctor or 911.
Right.
So they would shut down, and then all these older adults would have to relocate, and that would lead to transitional trauma and death.
Right.
And I don't know who's going to take that responsibility. We sure don't.
So if somebody is interested in getting a hold of you, tell us. So I know you're going to be at the house on Thursday, correct?
Yes, at 8 a.m. We're going to be there opposing the House Bill 2260.
Okay.
With everything that we got.
Okay. And then so you've got a lot of families that are supporting your efforts, and so everybody's going to be there.
We currently have 477 votes.
Okay.
From families and assisted living homes opposing this bill.
Okay.
And then we've gotten many of them to go on the ArizonaLegislator.gov and vote there as well.
Okay.
You have to go to the House to register.
Okay.
And oppose this bill. And we have a lot of statistics from NEMSIS, on emergency services and the annual report from EMS.
Okay.
That gives us a lot of guidance.
Right.
And
so
what other states have done.
Right.
Every state has the same issue.
Right.
What do you do when an older adult falls in an assisted living home?
Right.
Is the responsibility of an EMS to pick them up? Should the home know how to do it? And what other states have done is they've implemented fees. If the assisted living homes call too much, let the residents have their rights. But then if they call too often, let the homes pay for it.
Right.
And that way you're not taking away any rights or neglecting an older adult.
Right. I agree with that. Okay, so there's a lot going on this week with you and with this bill going on. So
you can reach me online.
Okay, so give us your email address and a good phone number to get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So my email is LIGIA at InTouch, INTOUCH, seniorservices.com.
Okay.
And you can reach us at 623-201-8545. And we are available around the clock.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you so much for coming and explaining. I know you had a lot to talk about, and there was just so much going on. But
Did we already pass half an hour?
We have. I mean, it's crazy. I need to have you back on the show for more information. I would love an update on this, and maybe we can have you back again. Just so that people know that there's options for their loved one, and different types of care for their loved one. And I think too that families need to know that they have a right to know what's going on. So that's why it's really important that they talk to you about this bill that's going on. And it's not that you don't feel that it just needs to be written a little bit better, and you've got some ideas of how you should implement.
In complete opposition of the bill.
Oh, opposite. Okay.
We're in complete opposition. It was poorly written, and I don't think the information from the bill is accurate.
Okay.
If you read the bill, you can tell that there's already other statutes and other mandates implemented.
Okay.
So we just oppose the bill in its entirety.
Okay.
And there are other ways to work together to help with fall prevention.
Right. So if someone wants to see the bill, do you guys have that on your website as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so give us
how to vote, where to go to vote, where the meeting is going to be on Thursday. So
so
just
give us that website.
intouchseniorservices.com.
Okay.
And then just scroll down and you'll see a big HB 2260 with an X over it.
Okay. So if anybody wants additional information, they can go to your website, and that was intouchseniorservices.com.
Yes, absolutely.
And then scroll down to the bottom, and you can read the whole.
And if you need any assistance, we have a little chat box on the website.
Oh, good. Okay.
So if there's something that you're not finding, or if you need resources that are not listed on there, just write in the chat box, and that will ping me or others in the office, and we can automatically reply.
Perfect.
And we try to reply within a minute.
Right. Okay. And I understand it's crazy busy this week, but it's good information, and that's why we wanted you on the show, because I think this is some valid things to look into. And so I do appreciate your time today, and thank you for explaining everything that you explained, because even I've been working with seniors for a long time, and I didn't know half the things that you had talked about. So I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And if anyone is looking for assisted living home, I think they're amazing, and they offer so many amenities and so many things that you just don't know until you tour them.
I totally agree.
So ask a bunch of questions whenever you tour an assisted living home.
I agree. So that's it for today's episode of Solving Life's Next Chapter, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.